You keen on some Shark slander? I'm going to assume yes.
Not slander. I think that I feel the players have been on a bit of a PR campaign to convince.
This is the whole no respect stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they needed to do that. I think your footy will take care of that. I think for the Sharks, as I said, they've played 2 finals games where they haven't been dragged to the ends yet,
Yep.
and we don't know how they're going to cope until they're there. Nico was the one that said about the respect, and I'd say that was more for his whole club rather than him. But it becomes lazy and easy to just say that he's kind of talking about himself as well.
Yep.
For me, Nico plays well every game he plays. That's why I've always had the beliefs around the 7 and the 6, because if he was the 6, we'd always say he plays well. But because he's the 7, if the Sharks can't get the crunch moments right, he's going to get the blame. So he hasn't dispelled any of that yet. Like, he's going to get a great chance down at Amy Park this coming week. And yeah, I think that the noise will quiet down. It's interesting too, because 2 weeks ago I told you how I thought the Sharks were in with a great shout because the noise was quiet.
Yep.
Now the Sharks players are kind of upset that the noise isn't there. Like, I just think let your footy do the talking and everything will take care of itself.
It's potentially the best game that in recent memory where it hasn't been Trindle's had a great game or Nico's had a great game. They both seem to have what I thought was a pretty good game.
Craig Fitzgibbon probably summed it up best, and he sounded exhausted with the question.
He did.
Because he said, you know what, sometimes it's Braden, sometimes it's Nico, but we just want to win games of footy. I'll still stand on my comments that Nico still needs to get the big moments right. He hasn't had that this year really yet. So yeah, it's going to be cool to watch. And it was interesting on the weekend. He come up against Jamal Fogarty that probably lacked owning the big moments as well this year. Defensively, on the weekend and even the week before against the Bronx, didn't get his defensive game to a level that he has had. And it's I'm sad for him because such a tough role that he has to play in that team. I feel like he feels like he's always got to be the mature head in amongst a lot of crazy athletic kids.
Yep.
And obviously missing Ethan, we probably needed Jamal to drop his shoulders a bit and chime in with looking for a few big moments. But he sort of just tried to stay in the driver's seat and kick to corners and play the long game. But we just ran out of juice to do that.
On Nico, it might have been Nick Ennis on the weekend was saying that how he feels Nico's benefit this year is that you've got the rest of the spine, predominantly Kennedy and then Blake Brayley, aren't reacting to him anymore. They're actually just taking a little bit of onus on moving the team forward as well. How does that sit with you?
I think they've got the most underrated pack in the comp, the Sharks. Adam Fanua-Blake's been probably below par based on the ceiling that he's created for himself over a long period of time. He's still been a 7 out of 10 minimum every week. And someone like Adam, that every time you got to drag him down, you're zapping energy in opposition. So even his games that look quiet, he's still doing a lot for the men outside him. So very underrated. Toby Rudolph's doing a good job, and the guys that come off the bench have been unbelievable as well. I think the Sharks have really settled on a style that we're going to keep the ball in the middle of the field until Nico's ready, rather than Nico sort of playing play on play and trying to come up with everything creative himself. Ball staying in the middle, and that's seen Blake Brayley do his best stuff. Reminds me a lot of what we done in 2016 at the Raiders. We had myself and Aiden Caesar, who probably weren't your most natural halves.
Yep.
So Josh Hodgson used to take care of a lot of the midfield stuff, and similar too, we had a pack that you could keep the ball in the middle with because they were big and could dominate, and that created fatigue, and then we could spread the ball wide. It's also a less risky style of footy. So yeah, I think Mick's right in that observation. I think Nico's removed himself a little bit, and then he's trying to take the moments. He had 4 minutes of footy, on the weekend where the probably started with the doubt to mount for the Raiders.
I just want to stick with the Sharks. Their back rowers have always been good. Britt Nicker, one of the best hole runners in the games. Teague Wilton, fantastic. Billy Bones scored a great try on the weekend. We've got Talakai coming off. Seems like when the back rollers are going great, they'll keep the Sharks moving forward. They run straight, they hit holes. If they're not getting a lot of ball, seems like Sharks go side to side.
Yeah, fair assumption. And it's what we just touched on.
Yeah.
Sometimes for Nico and for Braden, less is going to be more.
Yeah,
and it's letting the big boys zap the juices. As I said, I can't see the Storm allowing any of their back rowers to have the joy like that. The Burns one, he ran across field and ran between 2 players. I haven't seen that since under 12s, you know what I mean? So that was the disappointing part for the Raiders. They just couldn't get their edge defence to a level that allowed them to stay in the match. Because, as I said, the Sharks fumbled their way around too.
Yeah.
But then when you're leaking tries like that, and I know the feeling of an edge that you start to feel like the rest of the team's lost faith in your ability. Like, it's like, oh, that right side again. And it's anxiety ridden. I understand the feeling. And they certainly would have had some of their own teammates starting to look at them like, man, come on, get this right. You're costing us big time here.
The Sharks have beaten the Storm this year, yet you don't give them much chance. Why?
Based on my comments before the Sharks-Raiders game, I thought the Raiders were the only team that could go and trouble Melbourne.
Yeah.
Traditionally, Melbourne have been quite good defensively, quite a solid connected line, and teams with young, fast, strong athletes that could create second phase are normally teams that do the best. I just don't I think Melbourne are going to go, Sharks are going to go to Melbourne trying to out-Melbourne because that's the style of footy they play. And if it is that type of game, I'd be silly to back against the Melbourne Storm.
So we're shooting this on a Monday, so we don't know for sure yet. There's been some chatter that Jerome Hughes could be cleared, could be named tomorrow. Storm have got great backups, Tyron Wishart, Jonah Pezzett. If Hughes does come in, what does that do to the Storm's structure, if anything?
Oh, I don't think it benefits them.
Yep.
It's also the one position in their club at the moment they can afford to go without. Yeah. I think Pappenhausen back is the big one.
Yep.
And it's no disrespect to Meaney, but as an opposition half, you're faced with a fullback flying around the back of shape quite often. I always say that half's the toughest position to defend because you've got the biggest, strongest, most athletic guy trying to rip your inside shoulder off. And then you've got the fastest, one of the best ball players sweeping around the back that you've got to take care of both of them. And when you don't, things normally end up in a try. And you've normally got to stand behind the try line and watch the screen and apologise to your teammates. So it's not easy. When that's Nick Meaney out the back, I just don't think it puts the fear in opposition. So having Pappenhausen back, he also doesn't miss opportunities. You know that for a fact that if Melbourne go through, Pappenhausen's going to make it count. He'll score a try based off he's got an elite support game. So things are looking good. Melbourne Penrith grand final is where I'd be putting my money. But the Sharks they've made a habit of just being a gritty team that can spoil parties. So I give them a shout, but if history says I have to back the Storm.
There's been a lot of chatter, borderline sulking really, that if it is another Melbourne Penrith grand final, that'll be a detriment to the game. If Sharks can't win, I'd love to see the Panthers go 5-25. I reckon that's insane. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's like I mentioned about the minor premiership, with 3 teams that won it in 13 years.
Yeah.
Like it does. But for me, as a Raiders fan, if it's not going to be the Raiders, I'd rather the Panthers just go for 5.
Yeah.
I think we can also say that we lived in the era we got to see it. I mean, you hear about the Parramatta teams and the Dragons teams of the past. Man, Penrith are unbelievable. They're actually they're almost a cheat code, man. The amount of changes they've made. I think Melbourne Penrith looks the most likely to me.